I assume that no one's here, but for anyone's here, hey guys, don't have the intro music, don't have anything like that. We're just gonna go live basically at the park right now. My daughter's playing around. I just want to see if I can actually do this here outside, because I figure I can get some things off my chest a little bit more often than I wanted to if I was doing it just at home. I'm doing this on my live phone or my iPhone or whatever, so I don't actually know if anyone's watching, and I don't know how to check to see if anyone is watching at all. In fact, I don't even know how to see if there's any sort of comments or anything like that. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to chat and say like this. A couple of things that are on my mind right now. One being that it's quite interesting if you go to DPReview right now and you look at, what is it? There's a new announcement, maybe 3 or 4 days ago, of the Peak Design Mobile, I believe is what it's called. It's a new case that Peak have put out with a square little, what do you call it? A cleat, a sort of a cleat where you can mount various things onto this case for your phone. Things like some sort of slide-in lockable tripod socket or something like that, so you can secure your phone to a variety of different things, from a phone, from a car to a bicycle to probably wall mounts and other things like that. But it appears, now I've not used it, and I don't know anyone that have, but it appears that you can use it also with Apple's, not only their latest phones, but their latest battery cases, whatever they're called. And that's the one thing that gives me pause. Now, I'm not in the market at all for any of the new phones or anything like that, but it's actually pretty cool when some of these companies are working just a little bit closer together. So Peak Design and Apple, if they work together, they're getting the thing out just in time so that they could get their battery case out, as well as make sure that it works with accessory makers. Now, Apple didn't used to do that, and I don't know if that's the case right now, or if they were just somehow able to like 3D print it all together before they needed, basically before it mattered at all. Anyway, I think that's pretty cool. Like I said again, this is just sort of an impromptu stream just to see if I can get this thing working outside. If I can, the main thrust of this sort of like impromptu or these small streams like this will be me showing off various things that I'm doing. Stuff like, well, for instance, let me take something out of the bag real quick. I can't show you actually right here. So working on some cleats here. And on this side, some more cleats here. These are, what are they called? Dovetails. The thing that I'm actually going to be making is going to be showed on a different YouTube channel that I haven't started yet, where I'm going to be focusing more on DIY projects and sort of home improvement, etc. But for now, I just wanted to talk about that new Peak mobile case, which seems, like I said, seems pretty cool because it works with your battery case. Now, what I've been using for a long time, and I think it's in the links to this, can't exactly be sure, is called the quadlock case. It's a case, I think, designed by, I don't remember the name of the company. They're out of Australia. I've used them with my iPhone SE and now with the iPhone 11. And it allows me, let me see if I can do this. I'm not sure, how can I, hopefully I can change the cam around. You know, I don't think I can change the cam around. Don't know how to do that either. But what I'll do is I'll just twist this on here. You can see here, this little thing here allows it to screw right into a tripod mount like that. You can untwist it just like that, and you know, there's various locking mechanisms. So it's basically it works with any sort of 1/4 inch or whatever it is, eighth of an inch sort of mounting for tripods, etc. I've got it on a very cheap tripod here that I'm supposed to be reviewing. Sorry that I haven't. Let's see if I can take this out of my. Oh wait. I don't know if I could take this out of my case without like stopping the stream. I don't want to do that right now, but let me get this thing back upside down or right side up. But yeah, anyway, it's pretty cool that Peak are doing that. What I've been using, I think, is really good. I've had it on mountain bike, or so not mountain bike, but cross cycling trips on various weathers, rain, summer, or sun, and even some sort of snowish conditions. And it's done very well. I had it in my car. I've had the mounts that work on the windscreen, and the old mount would fall off in the summer, but the new mount seems to be very good and very solid, even though it's a suction cup. And I just do it on my windscreen, no problem. So I've got a lot of good things to say about quadlock for sure. They've served me very well for now since I've had the SE which I guess was 4 years ago. So 4 years straight of this company. I've bought, in fact, one of my videos earlier, I think when I was showing the GFX back to back with some other cameras, I had the iPhone here mounted behind the GFX on some sort of extension rail. And then I had the quad lock mount go up like that. And so you could see in comparison the X-T3 with the 5D2 and then the GFX, just to see how each handled sort of super macro or macro high magnification and see if the processor slowed down or not. So I've used this for a long time and it's excellent, absolutely excellent. Which is, and you know what, I'm not interested in any of those sort of battery cases or anything like that. And I'm not really interested in buying a whole bunch more Apple stuff. I'm kind of come to the, about a year ago, kind of changed wheels here. A year ago, I was reviewing some headphones from Sony. They're called the, I can't remember. There's something X3, something like that. They're wireless earphones. They do wireless noise canceling, good sounding sort of Sony earbuds or earphones, very good. But I mentioned basically at the time that I was also using Apple, what are these called? AirPods or AirPods Pro, whatever. And a lot of people were like, dude, you're an Apple guy. And you know what? I used to be. I started Touch My Apps back when Touch My Apps was popular. I was really into Apple, everything essentially at that time. And it's been very many years since I've been an Apple guy. Now I use these AirPod Pro and I've got a whole bunch of bad things to say about them. I haven't finished that review. I've used them now for almost a year and they are very good. The Sony sound better. I mentioned that in the review. I mentioned a whole bunch of things like that in the review. And people are like, but you're too negative on the Sony. I'm not. Absolutely, I'm not. But I'm not an Apple guy. I'm not interested in what Apple are doing as a company. I'm not interested in their new products. I'm not interested in much but their ecosystem. And even then, I'm kind of getting out of that. It's been 10 years. We've had the Apple the store and all that. We've had the online business. We've had their expanding hardware business until they're basically doing wearables and who knows what they're doing after that, tags. It's not interesting. And this whole idea where there has to be a new computer in your pocket or on your shoe or everywhere else is a little bit annoying and it's not necessary anymore. So I'm not an Apple guy. I'm not interested in their modus operandi, etc. That's me just saying that's not how it is. So I'm not, I've got my Apple iPhone 11. Yes, I have an Apple thing. I'm an Apple guy to that extent where I've used their apps for so long. For 10 years or whatever. If I get another phone, it's going to be a lot of the apps that I paid for I can no longer use, and that's kind of a real bugger. But basically, I'm stuck where I am, just being a regular user. I'm not like an Apple fanboy or anything like that. Now that's off the chest. Just to basically say that the peak design thing seems pretty cool. It seems that they are working with Apple, and having used quad, just want to make sure that using that you guys know. I've used a quad lock for a long time and it works very well. And assuming that the peak design, which is made more for camera users, works as well as the quad lock, I think you can basically assume that it's going to be a very good sort of accessory for the photographer who uses their phone, etc. Maybe with tripod, maybe with other accessories. So if you're a photographer, I think you can expect goodness from it. Now, if you're not a photographer, maybe it works well with the battery modules, etc., and maybe that's a good idea for you. Fine, that sounds great. But that's basically cool, I guess. I don't really want to talk more about that. I was actually looking to see if I could stream this thing, which is StreamYard, if I could make it work with DLive or something like that, which I don't know how to make it do. I'd have to use something different. I wanted to see if I could do a response to Morgoth and Keith Woods with regards to, what's his name? What's that guy? What's his name? The cathedral guy. What's his name? I always forget his name. Curtis Yarvin. Yeah, I want to do a response on that. Going to have to find a different place to do that because this is not the channel for that sort of thing. But I am outside, by the way. Outside, enjoying kind of a dirty park here in Japan in the afternoon, getting ready for some other real life stuff. And a couple updates maybe on what I'm trying to do in the studio. Right now, my 5D2, which I use to in various comparisons and have used for about half a year, maybe 7 months or so, is stuck to a Nikon lens that I bought, or no, that I've had this Nikon lens for a very, very long time. I have an adapter that allows it to do, it has a chip on it so you can see if it's focused or not. Great lens. I did a review on it a couple of weeks ago. It's the 105 f2.5. Some of my best photographs, my favorite photographs are taken with it. I did a review on it. That lens is now stuck to the 5D2, unfortunately, which means, and this is a real shame, I can't get that bloody thing onto the camera stand. I don't know what I'm going to do. It appears that it's a photo dio adapter, and the latch that then, I don't know, like goes into the F mount or whatever, it has a little finger that comes down, and it looks like it's somehow jammed onto the 5D2. So I don't know how I'm going to get that off. I may have to take apart the lens, or I may have to, I don't know what I'm gonna have to do, but the lens is good, but I don't really like using that lens as much on the 5D2 as I like using on some other newer cameras. And I like to use it for video, etc., but I don't want it stuck on my camera. So who knows what's gonna happen there. I have another adapter now because I'm now in the EF camp, and I can use my M39 lenses now on the Canon EF mount, which is now a 5D4. And so I will be doing some harder macro stuff pretty soon, mainly to show off. And I finally got the text finalized for Fit Ears titanium earphones from 3 years ago. I don't really want to cover stuff brand new anymore. If you have been following this channel for a long time, I have done some brand new stuff, but it's not something that I'm really terribly interested in doing, essentially because it's tiring. Two, I don't have the time to dedicate to it. But that said, what I'm working on right now is to get the I've got a focus stacking unit called the Stack Shot. Awesome thing. Still haven't done a review of it. Stack Shot. It has a remote control currently that plugs from RCA to mini stereo 2.5 millimeter. Now, my Canon 5D4 and the 5D2 do not use that connector, and I don't want to get a Stack Shot connector, which is an RCA to 2.5, which will cost money and time. I did get a patch, and so I got it's from a male 2.5 out of the Stack Shot from RCA. I got a female 2.5, and then I got a female 2.5 on the other end that will connect to a 5D4 regular remote control that goes into like one of these firing things. So it's 2.5 to 2 females, right? Like that. And I haven't tried it yet. So I assume that it's going to patch properly. And then I'm going to be able to use the 5D4 or the 5D2 if I ever get it off the lens in studio for when I need to use it. And I'll show that. Now, why is that interesting to me? There are a couple of reasons. If you can make something work rather than going through official channels, I think that that's a really important thing, especially as a photographer who, well, if you're like a wedding photographer, I hear this all the time. People who are doing weddings, they're like, I bring tape with me, I bring needles with me. Why is that? Because sometimes the bride or the groom have problems and they need someone to help them in the process. And if you, the photographer, can do that, it basically ensures that you then become another support structure for, well, at that point, your client, but you're able to do more than just pull a trigger. And that's a little bit sort of off the beaten road if I'm talking about patching two cables together. But one thing that's nice is if you can find ways to wrangle hardware together to make it work using stuff that you've had or have, rather than using the official ones, it's a very good idea because you can basically make anything work with anything. Now, the last thing I'm going to be doing to get my Canon system properly working is basically getting rid of the Fujifilm flashes that I have. I'm not going to sell all my Fujifilm stuff until, what's the thing? On the 28th of October, we have a new firmware for the X-T3. The last thing I'm going to do is, as long as I get a stable version of that firmware, what I'm going to do is compare the 16 to 55 2.8 versus a Canon equivalent, both the soft one, the older one, and the newer one made out of plastic, as well as then the 70 to 200 and its equivalent Fujifilm. And why do I want to do this? Again, I've talked about this many times. Fujifilm X-T3, when it came out, people were talking about it can keep up with A7 III. Some people say it couldn't keep up with the A9. Now, I've not found that to be the case. Some people who I would probably consider a little bit more honest say that it's beaten essentially by a Canon 5D III. The 5D IV I find to be a little bit more sticky and faster in autofocus, but we will just see. With the new firmware, will it be as good as the XT4, which appears to be maybe as good as a D800 or better? In fact, it may be even quite a bit better than that. Or will it be another, at least in my case, as far as I consider it, a little bit more of a disappointment? I'm hoping it's not the latter. I'm really hoping it's not the latter, but we'll see. And I'd like to do, in my comparison, I'd like to just kind of do the whole, put the whole equivalency thing to rest on my end. What do I mean by that? Well, I have the equivalent to a 24-70 for Fujifilm as well as 70-200. And I'm just going to cover the screen just a bit in case parents don't want the kids to be seen. Oh, wait, this way. There it is. But the equivalence, there we are. The equivalency thing, as far as I'm concerned, is basically this. The 70-200 is equivalent to, in APS-C terms, a 50-140 by Fujifilm. A very nice lens, very well made, but you know, it's quite sharp. Autofocus is fast and silent. It's an incredible lens. But for me, and I think this is important, a lot of people that use these sort of mid-range zooms, like the 70-200, use them in substitution of an actual portrait lens. I see it all the time. So we were just recently in a place called Karuizawa in Japan, and it's very beautiful fall colors at the moment. And we're at a place that's very famous for weddings. And one thing I noticed, and of course all you guys notice already, who are photographers or do weddings, etc., is that your 70-200 is a very, very good portrait lens for a number of reasons. You can get far enough away and still get subject isolation. You can get compression, but you also get very good bokeh if you, good bokeh. What's good bokeh mean, right? A lot of people suggest that it's either blur or it's type of blur. It's kind of both. How much blur and how good of blur it is. But you can get good bokeh from the 70-200 from Canon. Now Fujifilm, you basically stand just as far away and you get the same compression, but I found bokeh is a little bit more busy. Now, busy is not always a bad thing. I find that I prefer a busier bokeh when it's a 50mm lens, but when it comes to a zoom sort of lens or a standard portrait style lens, the smoother the better, at least as far as I'm concerned. That said, there are some classic portrait lenses like the Nikon 85-2 as well as the Zeiss that it's based on, which do have busier in a sense. They have soft edges, but they have swirl. And also, when you see things in the background, something like this tree, what you're going to see is a little bit of sort of viney, painterly lines rather than blurs that are just kind of straight lines. So it's a little bit more chaotic. I like that. But when it comes to a zoom lens that has that sort of basic feel to it, and the Fujifilm does, but the way it blurs those lines then is harsh. And so in equivalent terms, I don't think that you could take your 50-140, out and use it like you would a 70-200, because it's not going to be able to do the portrait lenses or the portrait style of photography that you would do with your 70-200 Canon or Nikon, or maybe Pentax have something like that. It just isn't going to cover it. And then on the shorter end, the 24-70 or the 16-55, is that lens, I think, is sharper still than the 50-140, and it focuses as fast, and it has a very smooth focus stepping. In fact, it's almost non-existent. It's just very smooth. Whereas the Canon, of course, is, whether you're talking about the 24-70 or the 70-200, it's more jumpy. It's definitely not as good for video. But when it comes to sort of just basic photography, again, I find that the way it blurs things in the background or out of focus is not quite as smooth. Now, photography is not all about putting things out of focus, but when you want it out of focus and you want to do sort of maybe a more nostalgic thing, or you want to make use of sort of an older style flare, then a lens that's super sharp and has a more busy blur especially in that range, is not, I don't think, quite as useful as a lens that's able to more softly focus on the subject. So that's what I mean by equivalence. Of course, they're going to be different in terms of depth of focus and all that, and there's some definite advantages to APS-C, but we're going to cover that a little bit later. And at the moment, that's basically as far as I wanted to go, just to see that this live stream works. It appears to be working. It appears that no one showed up, and that's perfectly fine. But I just want to see if it's working, and I wanted to cover just a few things, get a few things off my chest in terms of the Fauxtaku Lounge stream and channel is concerned. And perhaps what I'm going to cover, again, I'm a little bit behind on the Fiddier Titan. That's fine, as well as the things in my studio. So we'll just see how that goes. I don't have an intro. This is just on my phone, so I have no idea how to. Don't know how to do that. I don't even know how to check if I have. Don't know how to check if I've got comments or anything like that. Banners. Don't know what this is. Buy a hat. No. Brand. No, I don't. No, I don't think I can actually see comments or like that. Not sure there is. But anyway, thank you very much for all one of you who sometimes came in and sometimes came out. I'll see you guys later. It works. So we might do this every once in a while. I'll try to have a topic for you. All right, guys. Thank you very much.